Welcome to this week's episode of Tres Leches Radio. It's yours truly representing 1/3 of the trio Radimus. Gentlemen, represent.
Yo, man, it's B-Stacks in the building one more again.
You already know what it is. It's Nature Boy. Woo! Ren's Flair.
Let them know why
nice
you're Ren's Flair
robe.
today.
Got a nice comfy robe on. I don't want to reveal too much of the stuff. That's for the Taste of Choice podcast. More to come on that, though.
There we go. That's an intro, guys. Yeah, so you know what? First off, this is our first episode in February, if I'm not mistaken. So we got to give it up for Happy Black History Month. Round of applause.
Yeah.
Don't let the beige person be the only one clapping. Come on, guys.
Never that.
Back in black.
There we go. All right, so before we jump into today's episode, just as a reminder, you guys have probably seen our posts already, but we have now gone fake Hollywood. We are now on Spotify and Amazon Music. B-Stacks, I'm not sure if we're Apple Music yet. I'll defer to you on that one.
Yeah, Apple, you can check for us maybe like in a week or two, but Amazon Music for sure and Spotify for sure.
All right. All right, so today, guys, we have a special edition of Tres Leches Radio today. This is the first episode of our signature Battle of the Board series. We'll have it at different points in the future where we compare two accomplished producers, mainstream or independent, old school or new school, and give our individual takes on who is the quote-unquote winner of said battle. So kicking off this Battle of the Board series today is none other than the iconic matchup of Dr. Dre versus Kanye West. And which one of you guys told me that today's actually Dre's birthday and we didn't even know, like we didn't plan for it that way?
Yeah, I saw this morning somebody who exhibit on IG posted out, you happy birthday to the doc. I'm like, oh really? So the stars were definitely aligning.
Yeah. We were gonna do this last week. Yeah. So yeah, it definitely aligned well. So with today's episode, right, like to kind of get into gear, there's the tale of the audio tape, right? An overview on Dr. Dre and Kanye West. Now, initially, we were gonna do Dr. Dre versus Timbaland, right? Because he's a juggernaut as well. But just in kind of assessing it, we felt like Dr. Dre and Kanye West line up more, especially when you get to like solo work and their work in hip hop. When it comes to Dre and Kanye, and I'll let you guys add on to this. I like this matchup because there's quite a few parallels that can be drawn from both their megastar careers. They've had massive success on their own projects. They've provided massive success to the projects of others, even outside of hip hop. And at one point in time or another have been at the forefront in the game. So how do you guys feel about this matchup when we pivoted to Dre and Yeezy?
I think it was definitely a good matchup because I think when we were looking at the original one of Timbaland and Dre, Timbaland, he has rap here and there. He didn't have that full-fledged rapper / producer like Dre has and Kanye, because they both got solo works. They both worked with signature artists who helped, take them to the next level. So the seeing those parallels and everything and how they brought different, elements to the game that might not have been there, or if it was there, took it to that next level as far as enhancement value. So I definitely think, matchup wise, it was a perfect one to start things off with.
Yeah, with Dre being such a monumental figure, not many people are gonna even match up with him. So not to discount that Tim can't, but I think we could have found a better fit for Tim. So I think Kanye, he's one of the few that can match up with a Dr. Dre.
Yeah,
for sure.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. So yeah, so to dive in it a bit more, and when we talk Battle of the Boards, producers, when we refer to them as producers, it's not, and you guys tell me if you agree, it's not just beat making, but also how they whether it's Dre or Kanye, they can be the audio architect for how a project or just a song is structured, right? It's more than just making the pleasing sounds to the ears. Right?
Agreed.
It's structuring a song. It's like put the chorus here, have a bridge here, make it only an 8-bar, like all of that stuff for anybody just curious. Because I think for the average person, when you hear producer, you just think, making beats, so that's just kind of what encompasses I think a master producer, which these two are. To kind of dig in a little bit more with Dre, right? Just a high level overview, he starts off, in the 80s, he was doing the electronic hip hop sounds when he was with World Class Wrecking Crew. And then as his career progressed, you know, he went to the West Coast gangster rap sound with NWA. So, you know, you're thinking straight out of Compton, fuck the police. And then you have his Death Row era, which is my personal favorite era from him, where, you know, he had success with, you know, his career, you know, Snoop, DPG, Nate Dogg, and then to his the very label he's with now, Aftermath, you know, where he had success with like M50 Game. And then with Kanye did he started off as a with Ghost Production, right? So like this is like pre-Rockefeller. So he was doing work with what's his name? Like D-Dot. The Mad Rapper, D-Dot. Yeah. You know, so Kanye's actually landed production on A-list rappers before Kanye was Kanye. Like he got Nas on a bunch of songs. He even has Pun on a song. Remember that Made Men album? Yeah, they have some song called Deja Vu, like the remix.
Oh, the remix with him and Mace,
yeah, and
Pun. One good song on that album.
Yeah, Benzino made sure he gave that one 4.5 mics in the source. I remember that. So yeah, and again, Pun's on there, and then you have Kanye's Rockefeller career, right? So it was, you know, starting from like the Dynasty on forward. That's my personal favorite era from him, and I would say, yeah, I mean, like that again, and then you have his solo career, right? You know, which, you know, we'll dive into that more. I'm just kind of going high level here. You had his solo career, and then he has worked with others as well outside of rap too. John Legend. Again, that's just high level. So is there anything you feel that's missing from, like, you know, as we're kind of doing like the weigh in here, right? Like that's how Dre's careers kind of went. That's Kanye. Is there any key factors here that you think maybe gives one the advantage over the other at all?
I wouldn't say so much the advantage, but with Dre, I think one thing was missed. You talk about the G-Funk Gangster, but remember with NWA, that his production then was almost trying to match Bomb Squad from Public Enemy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and Cube had talked about that. That was so he had that. He started with that almost that boom bap style, heavy sample, and then, you know, as transition. So it's funny because it seems like each decade Dre's able to transition to a new sound, but still keep that singer sound, or not to the point where it's coming like overdone or trying to be like the next, you know, big thing. You can tell Dre's a Dre beat, you know, almost instantly, regardless of, you know, decade.
Yeah, one thing I'll just add, like you say, we're going real particular.
Yeah.
Kanye has been around since like 95, 94, 96. You know, as an MC, working with a lot of like local Chicago artists, Crucial Conflict. You know, just to drop that name.
I remember that.
He was rapping before he actually had beats, and then you know, 99, 98 is when the beats started to kind of flourish. But people don't really give Ye that credit. Like, you know, he was kind of around, even though he was local, but he was around in, you know, mid 90s.
Yeah, he's got the 90s output for sure. He appeared on like the Harlem World, like Mace's crew. Like after he blew up the Crew album, he's on that. Yeah, he definitely, I would say, I don't necessarily like love his 90s output, but he was definitely around. Yeah, like he starts way before when the average person knows him for sure.
I saw
Prez.
I saw a concert. It was like an old concert sticker, and it was like House of Pain was the headliner, and then it was like Common, and then it was Evidence and some other dude, and then like Kanye West was like at the last, that he was the opening artist, and that was like 96. So you've been around.
Definitely. Yeah. Now let me ask you guys. They both have had massive solo careers, right? So that's, you know, for Dre, that's the Chronic. That's 2001. Even he even did Compton. What's funny is I think and even I forget, he actually did an album after the Chronic, but before 2001, called The Aftermath. Yeah, that one. And it like no one talks about it because it wasn't, you know, on that level. You know what I'm saying? And then with Kanye, it's pretty much what you got: College Dropout, Late Registration, Graduation. Like my personal top 3 favorite. He experimented with 808s, then did Dark Fantasy. Like, what do you like? I'm just throwing out some. Like, what do you guys consider like what's your personal favorite output from them, from Dre and Kanye?
I'm gonna say my personal is the Niggas for Life album, which was NWA's like second official album. If you listen to that one, it's really where like gangster rap starts. Like you can like hear him almost about to transition in the G-Funk, excuse me, not gangster rap, G-Funk. So when I go back to listen to that one, it doesn't have like, Cube is not on there, so it doesn't have like some of the lyrical veracity, but sound wise, bro, that album is so butter. Like, oh my God. So that would be the one that I would tell people to definitely check for from the good doc, from the birthday boy.
What about you, Renz? For Dre, what would you say is your?
I mean, honestly, I also go with the Chronic because I think at that point, and like Brandon said, it kind of transitioned. But by the time Chronic came out, and I even remember, being second grade, this when I first heard G Thing, it was just so different, especially from being, us being from the East Coast, because we're all, waiting for the boom, bad boom, and he got the melodies and everything. I was trying to get a Chronic hat. I didn't even know what that leaf was signifying.
Is that poison ivy?
But the sonically, and when you were watching can't remember the HBO doc they had, with him and Jimmy Iovine, whatever they're saying, like when they even first heard that song, they didn't realize that he, not only produced it but mastered it, mixed it down and everything. Because they said his technique was so ahead of the game as far as mixing that sound, based off other, hip hop producers during that time frame. So sonically, it was just, it was out of this world during that time frame because it was nothing that was really sounding like that on that level. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was the Defiant Ones, I think is the
Defiant. The Defiant Ones.
Yeah, that was a very dope doc. Yeah.
Out of this world, man.
Yeah. I would have to say same for me. Dre, my favorite of his solo work is the Chronic. I think he's just he got it all right there. I was rocking out to it the other day, and that's the thing when you mention his not only is he making the stuff from scratch, he has the ability and the aptitude to put that polish on it to make the songs go from like a rough version to like that presentable to the public version. He can say, I want my drums to hit like this. I want the guitars to sound like this, the sample, like he can do that. Whereas a lot of and I'm pretty sure he worked with other like mixing engineers, but that's the thing. He's known in the industry, not just as a producer, but for that audio engineer aptitude. Like he knows the science of it, but he knows the art and the science of it.
Yeah.
All right. And so with Kanye, what would you say as far as his solo careers? What would you say best?
Yeah, Ye favorite was the first album, College Dropout. But I gotta say, man, I gotta go into like the fourth solo record, which was my Dark Twisted Fantasy. I think that's when he really I'm like, damn, like when is this dude like gonna fall off? Like he's just getting better and better. We can argue what his best solo is, whatever, but he had a stretch of classic albums in hip hop that I don't think we've seen by anybody. And I'm talking about, you could throw Nas up there, you could throw Jay, you could throw Rakim. I don't know. He might got 4 classics like in a row, like he was arguably 5. Like, so I'm gonna say that fourth one just blew me away, man. I'm just like, man, this dude, it just seemed like he could never stop.
Yeah, I think that album was when he went, like, that's not my favorite Kanye album, but that was the album where he really went in from like a production standpoint. Like he really went in his bag. Like it just like everything sounded bigger than everything else he did before. Like even down to like the mixing and mastering quality, right? Like everything just sounded bigger. And that's the thing. Like you said, he has like several classic albums. He evolved similar to like how Outkast did. He changed his sound like every album. And the thing is, his first 3 albums came out in a span of 4 years. So to change your sound that quickly and to be that successful with it, that's like you're better than just good, I mean, I would say I'm still, and this is pure bias. I love the College Dropout, but I know that when it comes to Dark Fantasy, that's probably his most cohesive work. There's like no skits. It's just song sequencing and everything belongs on there. But I would say for this, like, it's more like an emotional thing, like College Dropout. I love soul sampling era Kanye. Like that's what does it for me. What about you, Renz?
I'm kind of leaning towards the same. To me, like you said, if we're looking at production, you might say some of the later ones, but College Dropout especially, and I was talking to somebody about this earlier, just that feel. And when he came out, we got realized when, we all are like most Steph fans, Common fans, Solid fans, that had somebody with his platform to bridge that gap in between to get, even getting evidence as far as co-production on there to get them more shine. Like, so he was like almost like champion the quote unquote backpack rappers, even though he, kind of moved from that phase, but he kind of brought it all, in the center, at that point, made it cool to say, hey, you don't have to be hardcore gangster rap. You can rap and just be yourself. Like, I got in a car accident, my jaw's, shut. I'm going to rap, through the wire. You know what I mean? So I thought creativity, and everything, that's the juices flowing where he was at in his life. I just think it was unparalleled, at that stage. And like you said, soul sampling Kanye with the sped up was pretty much my favorite era of Kanye production wise.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot to pick from here.
Yeah.
Now there's what they've done for themselves, right? And I know, like with Dre, we mentioned the Chronic and the NWA. I put 2001 was not a sleeper. Just FYI for everybody saying, like, why didn't we say 2001? But they've also played huge roles in the success of others as producers, right? So, for example, what's the obvious one? Dr. Dre. When you think Dr. Dre and whose career he helped flourish, what are the names that come to mind immediately?
Man, so for me, I'm gonna start with Eazy-E, because he basically was the keyboard and drums behind Easy, and everything else kind of just went forward from there. If you want to talk about the obvious ones like the Snoops and the M's, sure, I'm sure you guys can fill in those gaps, but I'm gonna just focus on Eric Wright. Like, I don't think that you can have anybody to complement like a sound like Eric's, with that voice. Like he's a technical massacre on the mic. Like, he's not supposed to sound good.
Cruising on the street in my 6'4".
It's not supposed to sound good, yo. Like 9 times out of 10, that's a car crash. But in Dre, man, he just got him. He just had him riding smooth. Like,
he's a puppet master, man.
So I gotta go with Easy, man.
I think the obvious choice, probably I would say Snoop, just because, and I think I'll kind of elaborate on this later, but I think one of Dre's great talents was, finding people and making them into stars, not finding them when they already were established.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Whether it was Snoop, whether it was Game, like he took these.
Never had nobody established.
There was no in between. Like, oh, you kind of falter out, I'm gonna bring you back. It's like, I'm going to take you literally from the bottom to the top.
Nobody. Yeah.
Exactly. And I mean, to me, as much as the Chronic is for Dre, that's also Snoop. Like, you can't have one without the other on that album. And even before then with Deep Cover.
And he wrote a lot of it, yeah, right? Like, he wrote
hearing this guy just rapping real smooth on this real hard beat was kind of unheard of. We used to Slick Rick, had more maybe a softer sound, nothing that's too overpowered, but you got this boom and thump, and this guy this gliding on the track like it's butter. You know what I mean? And then hearing Doggy Style, and even to this day, I mean, we talk about, Illmatic, we'll talk about Ready to Die, Reasonable Doubt, but Doggy Style, come on, man. Like, in 92,
oh my God. I had no business listening to that in 92. I was 8 years old.
None of it. Like, the album cover and everything,
I was too young to listen to W Ball skits. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh man. That's another reason why these guys are perfect fits, because like they had writers as rappers too. So I don't think we can pick any rapper, producer. Like, you could throw Pete Rock in there, you could throw a Large Pro, but they don't have the solo power that Ye and Dre. This is a perfect matchup.
Mm-hmm.
And those producers you just named are producers that they respect. I think, especially Kanye. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, they may not have the power, but they have that respect. You know what I mean?
Right. What?
Huh? Blood ashes. Blood ashes. Chris Webber versus Swiss Beats. That's part 2, right? Like, Everybody's like, why are they talking about blunt ashes? That's an insider. We'll fill you in. All right, that's Brandon's favorite beat ever.
Oh yes.
All right, yeah. I would have to say, yeah. I mean, y'all pretty much said it all. I love, he blew up Snoop, 50, Eminem, Game, and that's the thing. And one thing I'll point out here is I actually, and we'll probably dive into this more in the next segment, but I actually feel that Dre has that talent finding level. He has higher peaks than I would say Kanye does. That's just something I'm noticing. When you look at the names that we know to this day because of Dr. Dre, and you apply that same question to Kanye, Dre I think's got that one in the bag almost easily. This is not to say that Kanye didn't have talent, but like people associated to Dre, they don't just like blow, they blow the fuck up. They blow. Yeah. They go out of the stratosphere.
Word.
All right, so and I don't know if y'all kind of like how do you guys feel about when they were in their respective primes and at the forefront? How do you feel about their influence of their sound on the game? Right, like when Kanye openly admits, he was inspired by the RZA's production style, and and that's what led for him to the resurgence of the soul sample. Like he says that on Last Call, right? And it was to the point where once Kanye blew up, everybody was reaching out for those soul sample beats for their singles, not just album cuts, but to get on the radio. You know what I mean? And then, so I'll stop there with Kanye. Like, how do you feel about his influence on his sound on the game?
Well, I got the same answer for both of them.
Okay.
But for Kanye, so I feel like both of them are renegades of sound. They like dared, everybody to follow them. So with Kanye, I would say it was the soul, like y'all said earlier, the soul samples, him merging the conscious, the backpack era with the street era, also with the commercial era. And I really feel like, us being around at that time, like being, younger men, teenagers going into our early 20s, like he was totally in his own lane with that. There was nobody that had dilated peoples with a freeway, you know what I mean? Or Mohsen Talib, but able to rock with Jay-Z. So with Ye, I would say that he dared people to follow that soul sample inside, and he continued to do it for the rest of his albums.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think
when
we look at Kanye, I mean, especially during the soul sample era, you remember even because Just Blaze was doing some of that soul sampling, you had Heat Makers, you had a lot of people immediately hop on that wave, with especially with the sped up. I mean, look at the height of Dipset is that, between Kanye, Heat Makers, and everything. So Brandon's right in a way where they were both renegades because everybody was doing a different sound. They're like, that's cool, but this is what I'm going to do. You know what I mean? And whether you dig it or not, cool, but this is what I'm going to do. And everybody from there follows suit because even when you, I'm going to go to Drake yet, but bottom line, when we look at that sound and, how Kanye has evolved into different sounds, people still, okay, I got to make that, that Ye style. You go YouTube, Kanye style beat, you know what I mean? And everything else. I mean, that says it within itself, as far as the influence he has had, within the past, 2 to 3 decades, in the game.
Yeah, even like 808s, man. Like that when he started merging the auto tune. I mean, he just did something countless every single time.
Yeah, auto tune, like electronic, like he put all that together. Yeah, that's what I said. And like I was saying before, he would change his sound every album. Like with Late Registration, he went like that full orchestra. Like he begged John Breon is his name to like work with him so that he could take that raw hip hop sound and make it more like in concert kind of orchestral sound.
Yeah, musical.
And then with Graduation, I like that he said stadium status, that's what he was going for. He wanted to make an album that would rock stadiums. And I remember that after he said that, I felt like I would hear other artists. I remember Akon around the time wanting, like saying, like instead of saying stadium, like arena, like wanting to have an album that sounded like that. Like he definitely was always like, with him, there was always that mystery. Where was he going this time? Where was he going? So and then with Dre, for me, I feel like West Coast dominance for people who are maybe like way younger than us. a big reason of the West Coast dominance was with Dre blowing up, whether it was the Chronic and Snoop, right? Like the way the South has their foot on the neck of the game for countless years now. Back in the early 90s, a big reason for the West Coast's dominance was because not just only Dre, but Dre is a very big part of that as far as influence on the game. He don't have as many albums as Kanye, but that era right there, like for me, how I remember it, it was a big part of that is because of him.
Yeah. With Dre, like I said, he total renegade of sound. So in preparation for this podcast, and also what I've been doing like the last couple years, and I was kind of looking back because I grew up as a kid and Dr. Dre was already established. I'm watching him on the videos and him with Snoop and Death Row and Pop, and I took a look back in history, and I'm like, well, okay, man, stuff wasn't always this gangster, like.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it was when this guy was in his other group.
Yeah.
So maybe it's him that's doing this.
The culprit, right? There we go.
Like he's the constant, like even when Cube left, the gangster wasn't the same. Like he did his stuff with the West Side Connection. Ren did his thing with Ruthless. Like Dre just kept it going uphill, man. And like again, like he just dared. Like I'm gonna have funky loops, hard 808 drums. And we're gonna be talking gangster stuff, like to the T, and like, and then be like, a year or two later, you got everybody trying to sound like that. So Dre did it in the same energy wise, but different format as Kanye when he just dared everybody to be different.
Mm-hmm. For sure, and even if we look at the evolution of Dre and his beats, he also started getting more of the orchestra sounds, but still kept it very gangster still with it. So it still had that gangster vibe, but now it expanded. So it's not just a typical G-Funk, feel, especially if you look at like how Crime 2001 played out. You know what I mean? And just seeing how the different sounds he was able to emulate, but still have, okay, this is still a Dre beat, but he kind of tweaked it, kind of expanded it, out there. Because I remember when 2001 came out, that was the same year when Nostradamus came out. I remember
99, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like,
such a great album.
I listened to the Cry 2001 and like, that was it. It was over. I'm like, I can't listen to you, Nas.
Yeah, nah, man. And you know what? To kind of transition a little bit, we've spoken about like their stuff, right? What Kanye is known for when it's his album. What Dre's known for when it's his album, right? Now, when we kind of go deeper in their bag, right? What do you guys feel are the best works that and you can say both at the same time that they were a part of? So now this is not their solo work. This is what's the best stuff that you feel Dre and Kanye were a part of project wise?
Go ahead, Brands. I'll let you go first.
I mean, obviously we talked about Doggy Style. I think that's a given. Clearly as far as what he did. This is not one of my personal favorites. I'm only mentioning it just because I'm looking more at like diversity, how he was able to step out of his comfort zone. But the stuff he did with Eminem, primarily with the Marshall Mathers LP, he produced about half of that album. And we can say it's not typical G-Funk, but Dre, as we know, as far as we're talking about mixing, mastering artists, he knows a rapper like Eminem is not going to excel on a G-Funk beat long term.
That's not him.
You know what I mean? So he was able to find a sound for Eminem, found a pocket for Eminem to ride out to even us, we might not like all the subject matter, but the beat's still good enough that we're going to still bang with. It's still a Dre beat, and we're still going to listen to it. We look at the documentary album, especially the stuff he did on the the stuff he did. And one album I think a lot of people don't probably give credit because later on, like us, but maybe not the masses, but the Big Bang, we did for Busta, Busta, to me, and we talked about on the Busta episode. That's one of my favorite. That's top 3 Busta Rhymes album to me. Easily the Big Bang. This how he gave Busta that a sound to run with. Whether he was acting hype, whether he was doing more monotone, more chill. He just has that ear to know here's how you need to sound. I remember Cameron was speaking on it, even saying like Dre made me say, I forget what word it was, but he made me say like over like 10, 15 times until it sounded correctly to his ear to how the beat was going. If it's not, he just scrapped it, and this is just a testament on how he matches your pitch to the beat and to the melody and everything else. Where a regular, let's say, producer or beat maker, oh, here's the beat, here you go, boom, boom. Dre's gonna be like, no, we're gonna scrap this.
He is an audio architect. He's like I don't know if it's like an audio seamstress. Like he's gonna tailor that suit for you that only you can rock it. And look at the difference, like you said, Renz, in personality. You got Eminem and Busta Rhymes, 2 albums. You have similar energies, but not similar like subject matter. And he found a way to make them work. And while also being able to still do, a game album. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think another one I would throw in there, because I had similar ones, is Get Rich or Die Trying, because he was a part of that. That was I know it did big numbers. I genuinely just really like that album a lot. I think Dre was at one point getting real heavy in like his piano bag. I think at one point he was being trained by a classical pianist to learn piano. That's why, like, when you hear later on in the mid 2000s, like when he did whether it's Blue Carpet Treatment, he did some stuff on there, and you hear like a little bit of emphasis on pianos as like the lead instrument, or Jay-Z's Lost One, dun, 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 like that's Dre. You know what I mean? He kept challenging himself. But yeah, to add to that, like you said, for other stuff, Doggy Style is probably my all-time favorite thing that Dre oversaw over anything. What about you, B-Stacks?
Yeah, I'm glad I let y'all go first. So everybody listen to that stuff for sure. If you don't know about it, or if you haven't had enough of it in your ear. But man, I mean, the only other artist other than Snoop that he gave every single song to was the DOC.
I would love to say that, yeah. I hope you say yeah.
No one could do it better.
No one could do it better, man. Like I had older cousins, my older brothers had that tape, and the only reason why I know about it, and then once I, was able to like get my own money, I comped it, downloaded, put on my iPad later. DOC, underrated MC. It's not about him tonight, but definitely go do your Googles, internets on the DOC. But Dre laced that album. That's a classic album. There's not a weak song on there. That's all Dr. Dre production. He might got one maybe from whoever was on the record label.
You got something from Yella, or they were not
yeah, it might have been a Yella, you know what I mean? But I gotta go with the DOC, and in addition to his work with Exhibit on those first couple of albums.
Yeah, Restless,
especially right, all that.
That's good. No, I'm glad you mentioned those, because like the other ones we say are usually at like the forefront of the conversation, but it's also like, but like don't forget these either. You know what I mean? Like that's dope. All right, so same question for Kanye then, right? So what are the projects he's been a part of that you are like your favorites, or you thought were just like, he, what Dre did for these other artists, Kanye did for these artists?
Now I struggle with this with Kanye, with rap artists. So I will go with some more on the R&B side. I really like his work with like Brandy. I really like his work with JL, John Legend.
That first album, oh my God, I love that shit, bro.
You know what I mean? And that was the whole Common era for him. Can't forget about that. I really can't give you like an album like I can give with Dre with the DOC, where he just was like he manifested the whole project. But I'm gonna go with just his like little like kind of loosey records here and there with like a Brandy or like a John or a Common in that 05, 06 era, where he was kind of just touching different waves.
Yeah.
No, for sure.
What about you, Renz?
I was definitely gonna mention Common. I mean, B, we already know how classic that album is, but I'm gonna go a little bit newer. Daytona, Pusha T. That was around the time where I was kind of done with Kanye as far as production, because to me it was kind of hit or miss. But like the BC supply for Pusher, and it goes similar to Jay. Like, I know what type of pocket you need to be in. I don't really see no really weak track on their production wise. Everything flows so good, and Pusha was able to manipulate it, with his coke raps that, same coke raps for 20 years, but we still listen to. But that I would say definitely. Outside that, and the same thing you're saying, Brandon, on the hip hop level, and I think it's gonna kind of segue into the last part on when we look at the scale. it's to me, it's like, we can talk about Blueprint, but also look at it that Jay was already a very established artist.
Right.
At that point, Jay could tell you, here's what I want. You know what I mean? Versus somebody maybe newer, being hit or miss, like Big Sean stuff to me would hit and miss with he done. Maybe more so with stuff we maybe did with Travis Scott, but Travis Scott's also a producer too.
On the new Travis. Well, you guys, say that like where Kanye has a lot more solo input, where Dre kind of like gave his stuff out more and then settled for solo less. Do you think that like Kanye's like, because I struggle with this question, do you think that like Kanye kind of sacrificed, like instead of putting out like he had back-to-back solo bangers like four in a row, do you think that he sacrificed the output that he could have gave others at that time?
I feel like they did the opposite. I feel like Kanye kept a lot for himself and Dre gave up. Dre could have had Detox out in, like, you figure 2001, the album 2001 came out in 99, right? And it seems like he could have put out Detox in the mid 2000s, but instead it's like 50 has a career, Game has a career, Eminem has a career, and he honestly, with the amount of work he spread out there, and we're probably forgetting a bunch of stuff, he could have been put out Detox and it would have been on the level of his first two albums. But to answer your question, I feel Dre gave a lot of like his the stuff that could have made him an even bigger success on a third album. He gave it away, and I feel like Kanye kept his for himself.
Agreed.
Well, think about it, and you kind of already mentioned very early in the episode, Kanye was a rapper first, then started doing the beats. Yep. Dre was a producer first. So even though he started rapping, he's still a producer first, where Kanye was kind of sort of rapper first, but became an excellent producer. But at the same time, it's like, and I think Big Crit even talked about it for a while too, it's like, I'm making these dope beats. Do I want to give it to the next person? These are like my baby. Where Dre was like, you know what? This is a perfect sound for you. This is a perfect sound for you. Kanye like, it could be a good sound for you, but I'm going to keep this for myself, for, whatever album he's going to work with, where, what could have been quality A grade might have been A- for the other artists. At that point, I think that's where you see the differences in the solo output. Because, we have essentially Chronic 2001, and then like Compton, Aftermath too. But outside of that, there's not, unless you're gonna count like the
Infinite
NWA
Detox leaks, right?
Yeah.
Like them songs are still leaking, the reference tracks.
And they still talk about this coming out.
I am tired of hearing about Detox. I do not read the articles. If it's out, it's just, I'm gonna open up my app and it's there. That's it. I don't care. I would say with Kanye, you guys pretty much said it. I mean, like Daytona. I actually had Get Lifted here too as well, Brandon, with that first John Legend album. I loved it. I was like screaming it in my living room like as recently as like a week ago. I included Blueprint because this question wasn't about who he blew up. It was just like stuff he was a part of that I loved it. And like when I remember on the Dynasty, he did This Can't Be Life, and that's just such a soulful track. And what's interesting is, I know we said this, and Scarface absolutely stole the track. That's one of the most like heartfelt verses on there. What's it called? You hear that sound, and that's the only track Kanye has on that album. And then Blueprint comes out and he does a third of the album, but you hear that continued soul sampling. Again, my personal favorite era. You know what I mean? I see that. It's the 808s without the heartbreak, right?
Right.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. And that Daytona, I'm glad you mentioned that, Renz. I had that here too, because I feel like Daytona's only is what, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe 2.5. And I feel like Daytona, which Kanye pretty much oversaw, Dre don't have a recent one that's as good as Daytona, in my opinion. Like I know Eminem's still putting out stuff, but I've felt that M has long been past his prime for a while now. And actually, to transition a little bit here, right? Like we're giving these guys their flowers, obviously, right? How do you guys feel about the influence of co-production, right? Because what I've learned as I've gotten older, a lot of these guys, whether it's Timbaland, Dre, Kanye, whoever, a lot of, after a certain point, or oftentimes, they don't work alone. They work like, especially when they become veterans. It's almost like, I guess, in order to keep current with what's going on, you get the young guys, or girls, because there's not a lot of female producers, but I know there's Wonder Girl. It's almost like the the younger guys that's how they pay their dues. They work with them. I mean, Kanye has to ghost produce to get in. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you guys feel about like the co-producers working on their stuff? Do you think that dilutes them in any way? Do you, or you just feel like it's just the way the game is, you know, like people collaborate?
I don't think nothing dilutes it. That's sort of simple fact. And we can go back to the Defiant ones as a perfect example.
Mm-hmm.
So Jimmy Iovine, producer, you know, but then he evolved into engineering to everything else. So say, hey, play this, because that's still all part of producing. You're saying, hey, tweak this or, you know, manipulate that. That's still a job of a producer. So I think, you know, once you're established, especially if you're trying to modify, I think you still do all but so much as just one producer while having some support here and there, whether Scott Storch with the keys to, you know, still DRE, you know, which then kind of became a Dre signature sound, but initially was started by him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, especially in Dre's case, with his co-producers, they didn't really take away from him. To me, it almost kind of enhanced his sound, and at the same time, he complimented them once they started branching off. When Scott Storch, especially when Scott Storch started doing his thing more, you know, you could tell he learned tips from Dre as far as his sound, because his sound was definitely different prior to cooking up with Dre. We look at the stuff he did with the Roots, you know, versus once he got with Dre and then after Dre. You know what I mean? Same thing with Melman, same thing with Focus. You know, so you saw these guys were able to elevate their game. Even Just Blaze said when they were working on Kingdom Come, that he never heard his beat sound so crisp until Dre mastered it. And he said, I didn't know my beats could ever sound this good. You know what I mean? And that's when when you're working with somebody else, you can kind of step back now to reevaluate things where you might kind of miss that the first time around if you try and do every single duty. Like Kendrick Lamar, to this date, we know he hasn't produced anything for Kendrick, but he mastered pretty much all Kendrick stuff as far as the Aftermath projects. And, you know, as far as how he needs to sound and everything else. So I don't really think that the co-production really dilutes, you know, from him or Kanye's, you know, legacy for that matter.
Yeah, because they could still be running the show. Like they could be like, it's more like you're delegating. It's like, do this because they have the final say. They, you know, just because the younger guys are bringing it, hey, this is what I have. It's like, and I think even Diddy did this. Diddy was known for like, no, tweak this, add this here, remove that. Like you're still the maestro. You're still the one that has the final say on the final product. And Brandon, I don't know how you feel about the co-production influence on these guys. Even RZA would give his stuff like he couldn't do. You know how many Wu members were there? Like that's too many. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like
the younger version of me would be like, yo, F that, man. Like, that's not real.
Yo, me too.
Yeah, exactly. That's like, I thought it was DRE. We're like, what is this?
I had to learn, man. I had to learn that, like, you know, your favorite mechanic, right? Like, you know, your car's down, man. Yo, man, I need my oil change. My tires messed up. Bro, he's got help. Like, he's got help. So nobody does it alone, man. Like, you know, like Dre might have had a Daz in there, and then Daz is
apparently a big influence on his sound, man. There's been controversy there.
Yeah. The problem becomes when that apprentice or the help becomes a name in itself.
And
then it becomes like, oh, well, how much did you really do? You know, like, and that's been more of the case for Kanye. And like probably Dre only really has that going on with Daz. But I think that's more of the problem when the help gets a name. And then that's when we start to look back at like,
like, you know, like who really did this, right? Like, yeah, there was controversy with Kanye on the joint with Cameron, Down and Out, that apparently like it was Brian All Day Miller and not necessarily Kanye. I remember I played Renz from like the LR days. I heard, and maybe Kanye was like being sarcastic or whatever, but I remember he gave the credit of that beat to Brian All Day Miller. Like I heard an audio, it was on a mixtape or something. And I remember he did that.
And even on College Dropout, what was the beat? The Evidence.
The Last Call, my favorite
Kanye
song
thing,
ever.
And it goes back to that. So Evidence played the original beat to Last Call. Kanye did one very minor thing, and all of a sudden, you know, it's a co-production when it was essentially just an Evidence beat outside one little minor tweak, which to me wasn't like going to make it or break it. You know what I mean? So you do see a lot of stuff, especially with a lot of newer Kanye beats, because now you've seen like 5, 6, 7 producers along with Kanye. So it's like exactly what were you contributing. Like with Dre, you might see maybe 3, maybe 4 at the most. You know what I mean? But with like Kanye, you might see a whole list within a list.
I'm gonna say this. In the boardroom, if you had to just put them by themselves, I'm gonna go with Dre. You know what I mean? Versus Kanye. If they had to do it by alone, like nobody.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna go with Dre.
And I think that goes back to, and it kind of segues where we're about to hit, where Dre will take you from that very bottom. I feel like with Kanye, with a lot of this stuff is like the guy was already kind of established or good enough where, okay, I can polish. Like Dre, like, okay, Game, okay, I'm gonna move you to this level. Snoop, I'm gonna move. Eminem, you know, you're a little hardcore, but I can modify you to make you a little bit more, passable. And I think he just has that better teaching. I think almost like Coach. If I know you're bad with the basketball analogies, right? But like,
everybody watching, I don't know jack shit about basketball.
But Ray, keep giving them, man.
I look at like Dre almost like Greg Popovich. He's all about the culture, all about the system. I'm gonna plug you in this system. You work in the system correctly, you can be this, that, and the third. We saw that with Tim Duncan, David Robinson, Ginobili, Parker, and so forth. I feel like with Kanye, it's almost like a Phil Jackson sense, like Jay-Z. Clear example. Already kind of got it there. Hey, I'm gonna now move you up here, but you were already here. But I'm gonna move you up to now from, let's say, tier 1B now to tier 1A. Type deal. Because when we look at other artists, they kind of try to mold it. It has been very hit or miss as far as artists that he developed on his own. Versus with Dre, we can name countless artists that Dre brought. And made megastars.
Yeah, because Kanye had like Consequence. He had like, I think, Malik Youssef. There's like
TLC.
A bunch of other, other good, the early good music acts that, and honestly, maybe the albums were all right? Like honestly, like, yeah, and but it seems like Dre has a higher success rate, I think is what you're saying. Yeah. All right, guys. So on that note, it's crunch time now. This is where, I don't know, friendships might end. I don't know. You tell me. Who is?
I'm good either way, Playboy.
Ric Flair ain't sweating nothing.
Woo!
He said his robe worth more than my whole house. He said, "Who is the greater producer between Kanye West and Dr. Dre, and why?" And and you can preface this. We're gonna have a scale here, right? So beat stacks, right? We have 3 categories that we're gonna kind of like give numerical values to on a scale of 0 to 5, right? There's producing, there's beat making, and then there's solo talent. So I don't know what order you guys want to go in. I don't know if you want to do your numbers first and then say that's why my vote goes to so and so, or whatever order.
Well, let me ask you one quick question before you dive in.
Yes, sir.
Solo talent, are we just talking about solo talent as far as their solo album, or are we talking about solo talent saying how they might develop another artist? That's what I wanted to get clarification.
I looked at it as them as the talent.
Yeah, their work, right? Yeah.
Okay. Okay, got you. All right.
Yeah. So I'll do them both together, man.
All right, do your thing.
Yeah, I had Kanye for producing. I had Kanye at a 5, and I had Dre at a 5. I feel like they're both out of this world as far as producing goes. It don't get no better. Beat making, I had Kanye at a 3.5, and I had Dre at a 4.5. Kind of for the reasons we said. I feel like if I put Kanye in a room, now beat making is actually like what the help does a lot of the time, so if I'm putting Kanye in a room, I'm just like, man, I'm just strip this record down, do what you got to do. I'm gonna give him 3.5. I feel like he's like a C+ to a B with that one. And I feel like Dre's at a 4 for that. And the solo talent, I give Kanye a 5, out of this world as a solo talent. I said earlier, I don't think we got a rapper on a run like he has. I mean, if Kendrick is able to drop another project, then maybe Kendrick will have 4. But it won't be still done like Kanye, where he's at the helm of producing, of arranging, of engineering, like, you know what I mean? He's just total control. And as a solo talent, I got Dre as a 4, only because like he only really, I mean, when he stepped up to the plate, he did it. He did it twice. but he just didn't do it enough for me to give him a 5. But he's capable, right? So, well, more than capable. So I gave him a 4. And it's crazy. When you add that up, Kanye's at a 13.5 and Dre's at 13.5. So
shit. Wow.
I got them immediately tied, and I wasn't even, I wasn't even like counting.
I ain't even bother adding them up. I didn't even think of that.
So that just tells the tale right there of like, in my heart I would go Dre, but when I'm doing the numbers, they're tied. They're even Steven.
They're even. All right. What about you, Renzo?
Yeah, I was bouncing back and forth. As far as producing, I gave Dre a 5 just because I just think he's just a master at what he does and knows what he wants to pinpoint to a degree. I mean, even like Legend of the Fall Offs, like Dre was like, "Yo, let's get some dirt and actually get the shovel." I mean, he's like, "I don't want to download the sound. I will actually want to do it." Like, what producer thinks about that? Like, "Yo, we're gonna buy some dirt from Home Depot, and it's a shovel. That's just so we can get that real sound." So that alone, when I remember reading that, I'm like, yo, I just assumed they just had some audio just added in, or whatever. But the fact that he thought about that, so I think Dre, we look at the eras, whether he was doing more of the boom bap, more of the G funk, more of the live instruments, the orchestra, like Dre was able to manipulate any type of sound he wanted to, at that point. Kanye, I gave a 4.5 only because I feel like, and we could say like, yeah, and I know you use Daytona as an example, like Dre don't have like a Daytona in the recent years, but I still felt at the same time that I think Kanye had more duds than hits in the later years versus Dre. Even Dre might came more far in between. He was so up to par most of where some of the Kanye stuff was like, Watch the Throne, I don't care about that album. Like I don't really like the production, You
don't like the beats on Watch the Throne?
Some of the stuff, but
Beats is crazy.
Maybe just the vibe.
Beats is crazy.
Yeah, I think
maybe the vibe, but like I was never a big fan of Watch the Throne. Still not. It grown on me in the later years, but I wasn't in awe.
You gotta take the lyrics out, man. Just listen to the instrumentals.
Well, I'll take the instrumental version next time then. As far as beat production, and I still gave Dre a 5 on that. As far as beats, Kanye, I had more around like a 4, at that point, as far as, because I think beat wise, to me, he was a beat maker than a producer. And I think even what's, in the soul sample era stuff, I thought his beats were always on point for the most part. So I definitely still gave him a solid 4 for that. As far as solo talent goes, I'm kind of the same page with Brandon, where, Kanye had a 5, especially the first 3 albums. That stretch between College Dropout, Late Registration, like Kanye could do no wrong.
Undeniable.
At that point, like Dre, we love Chronic, we love 2001, but like, we're talking about almost like a 10-year gap between those two almost, and then you have Compton, and then but
Compton's still just more like a compilation.
Exactly, and that's what, but we look at Dre as a whole, even though there were solo albums. There were, for better or worse, compilation albums. You already knew, okay, on Chronic, you got, DLC mostly writing, you got Snoop, you got Dog Pound, you got the whole Death Row. To me, that was almost an introduction of Death Row. Aftermath, and I was like, okay, I've reunited Snoop, but now I got Eminem. It not on my label, but he's affiliated enough that he's going to rock out. So he was always showcasing his homies, at that point, where Kanye was like, I'm showcasing myself. I might have Jay on here, but best believe I want to get mine. On this track.
Yeah, he always wanted to be taken serious as a rapper, like since the beginning.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like he wanted you to know, I'm not only a dope producer, I'm not the best producer, but I'm also the best rapper right now. Period. Like that was a Dre. Long as he was writing that beat good, he didn't really care if he was outshined by anybody on any of his tracks.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So I would say, so for producing, and this was, I would say Dre's a 5. I say Kanye's a 4.5. Dre is just a master architect. He challenges himself in ways that I think others don't. He goes down to not just, again, how he structures it, but again, down to like the mixing and mastering element. I mean, that's that's a lot of hats to wear. That's a very heavy ear to have. You know what I mean? And whereas like I respect Kanye's ability to structure albums, like just especially like his stuff. Like he's like those first three we keep talking about. He has very cohesive albums. Like not for nothing, even Yeezus, not my favorite Kanye album. It's cohesive. Like he knows how to structure it, even when he's going in a direction where I may not love it. So again, producing 5 Dre, 4.5 Kanye. Beat making, I with Dre I go 4.5. Kanye I actually went 5, and that's my bias for the soul sampling. Like it did that much for me. You know what I mean? Like I almost hate to put one over the other, but and I know Kanye has way more sounds other than that, but I feel like also because Kanye had a longer solo career, even though like after Dark Fantasy it really takes a dip. The stuff he's done for other people, I feel like I've heard more, even though I feel like Dre's peaks are kind of higher. I feel like I've heard more from Kanye where I was just like, damn, like this beat is so dope. You know what I'm saying? So I gave the slight edge in beat making to Kanye. I do agree with what you guys are saying. If you kind of like put them in a room and go from scratch, I think that would actually be a pretty good matchup. But that's why I only have it as a difference of a half a point.
Well, like it also with Ye, I don't know how y'all did this. Like I did this with Dre as the obvious like favorite. You know what I mean? Because we were looking for a matchup for Dre.
I had no favorite. I just had I can honestly say I had no favorite.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean like, did personally. Not like personal favorite, but I'm just saying like objectively, if this is a home, like right, all right, in every game, right, there's a home team and there's a away team. Both teams can't be home. I feel like Dre is the home team.
Yeah.
I thought that because we're in 2021 and I feel like Kanye's a little more active than Dre, and I'm not saying that everything he does is great. I thought that would actually give this era that we're in, the streaming era, the internet era, would give Kanye the home field advantage purely because of that. Just times. That's exactly why. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I went with Dre like objectively. But as far as because I even started looking at Wikipedia and stuff that he produced over the years, it's like I forgot some of the stuff that even Dre produced, that with Mary J. Blige and Gwen Stefani. But then you look at Kanye, he did stuff with Maroon 5 and production. So Kanye, he definitely had a longer stretch, I feel. But I think Dre, I don't look at quantity versus quantity. I might not give you that same output, but when I put this out there, you're going to know exactly that it was by me and it wasn't no, throwaway beat or whatever, but looking at him as a whole outside of the solo talent, I mean, there's no comparison as far as the rap producer in the rap atmosphere. But I'm looking at my total scores. I had, Dre at a 14, Kanye at 13.5. On paper, I thought I would have had a lower score for Kanye. But
so what you got, right? What you got a total?
Well, I didn't do my solo talent yet. For solo talent, I actually put them even though Kanye has more albums. So I had them at 4.5. So so I had them. Yeah, I had them even though Kanye has more. I feel like what gives Dre's score is the fact that when he was operating, it was just like you heard it around the world. You know what I mean? I feel like I've said this a couple times throughout the episode. I feel like Dre's peaks are stronger than Kanye's peaks. So that's why when it comes to solo talent, me personally, if we're not talking lyrics here, but we're talking albums, at this point in the game, I've probably listened to like more stuff that Kanye has done, like whether it was his stuff or like a Common B or Finding Forever or whatever. Probably more than like Dre stuff, but that's also because that's not just production at that point. That's just the MC involved and whatnot. So I actually have to add mine right now because I didn't add mine. So hold on a second. But you guys talk while I do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So all right, I'm tied. So that's a score. That's a score for Dre and Kanye. Zoe has.
So what was your score?
I had them both 13.5. So that's a 13.5. That's a win for both of them. And then, so Joe, you had Dre over Ye.
Yeah, right? I had 14 for Dre, 13.5 for Ye.
Okay, so all right, so that's a win for Dre. So it's 2-1 right now. So
all right, so I'm doing my
Ray's even going.
I'm on my calendar +5, and I know all of y'all like he can't mental math for shit. Holy shit, mine's are 14.
Damn.
But I'll tell you right now, and I love both, but I know the numbers tie it. But for me, I think, and I think a little bit of this is also the age I was when Kanye blew up. I haven't loved the end of Kanye's career, but I think both of these guys have had noticeable fall offs. But I'm going Kanye on this one, and not by a lot at all, because Kanye himself even says he bit the drums from Dre's Explosive when he was making the beat for This Can't Be Life. So he's literally, Kanye tips his hat to Dr. Dre. You know what I mean? Like that's just known. So I'm going Kanye on this one. And he's not done. I just don't like that he's in his religious bag right now. But yeah.
I'm glad we're not talking about Jesus or Kim Kardashian. Thank you.
And I'm bad with math. It's actually, I had 13. I don't know why I got 13.5, but I have 13.
All right.
So you guys got Dre?
Well, he had tied. I had Dre 14, Kanye 13.
Okay, yeah, no, mine was tied, but like again, I just wanted to just like I'm throwing Kanye, not by a lot, but just
I'm gonna throw Dre if I gotta choose then. So yeah, it would
pull the trigger. Yeah, Dre. Okay. All right, so there you guys have it. We got 2 for Dre, 1 for Yeezy. So yeah, I think we pretty much covered it all. So that was it. So this was a good matchup. This was the kickoff episode. We don't really know when the next one will be, but it'll be hashtag Battle of the Boards, also hashtag Tres Leches Radio. We've already been kind of bouncing ideas off each other of different matchups. Again, yeah, and it won't always just be, you know, the obvious names either. We're gonna have those episodes where it's like for the heads, you know what I mean? Like we've thrown some of those names around too. So yeah, so let us know what you guys think. Do you feel Dre's the in this matchup? Is it Dre? Is it Kanye? Did we leave any valuable input out? That's a weird sentence to say. Let us know what you guys think. I don't know if y'all have anything to add to that.
Well, we'll have a special Black History episode next week. We'll have that date announced soon to wrap up February. So let's be on the lookout for that for sure.
Yeah, where it was a great episode, man. I'm glad we were able to talk about actual like music content, and like I said, not just like the clickbait junk that's on the internet. Be sure to stream us on the audio platform of Spotify and Amazon Music and Apple shortly, so you can get that good content from us.
Let's sprout for sure.
Yeah, all right. Check us out on all our socials. Tres Leches Radio out. Peace.
Peace.